Hello and welcome to my personal retrospective of the UK power metal band Power Quest. Power Quest was formed by former Dragon Harp keyboardist Steve Williams.
Hello.
But you may know Dragon Heart today as Dragon Force. Now, due to creative differences, Mr. Steve Williams decided to branch off from the rest of the band known as Dragon Heart at the time, along with former colleague Steve Scott, and they decided to drift off to do their own thing. Apparently the proposed Dragon Force sound was not to Steve Williams' personal preference, as many believed that Steve thought there weren't enough keyboard melodies in their material, and yeah, he'd be right. Power Quest then went on to release a self-titled demo in 2002, and thus began a story tale worthy of being described as an actual quest in itself, conjuring up some of the best underrated power metal to ever come out of the UK shores, in my humble opinion anyway. Unfortunately though, it came as sad news to me on January 10th, 2013. Keyboardist Steve Williams had announced the split up of Power Quest, citing financial reasons and the lack of record label support for the reason of their demise in the long run. This honestly saddened me. This news was coming on the opposite side of what I consider to be their greatest album, Blood Alliance. Before I continue to ramble on though about Power Quest's untimely end, it might be useful to you to gain a little perspective on my own personal opinion of the band and how I actually came to start listening to them, and how I eventually went on to call them one of my favourite bands of the past 10 years actually. Let's begin, shall we? First of all, I cannot claim to be a Quest fan from the very beginning. Like many of the fans of the band, I happened to listen to them whilst I was attempting to uncover older Dragon Force demos, or even just another band which might have shared their particular style of metal. This was around about the time that Dragon Force had released their most popular album, Inhuman Rampage, which in truth, I have to say, was a solid effort on their part. In fact, I'd go on to say that it was my personal introduction piece to the almost cult-like genre of power metal. And you see, when I get into a new genre of music or hear a sound that I find attractive, I'm like a big stupid fly to shit that way. I find myself going through the entire discography of the band just to try and find some of the same, more of the same, if not better material. And to be honest, I wasn't disappointed when I discovered that even some of Dragon Force's older stuff was far better than the fierce and relentlessly fast music that they had produced for Inhuman Rampage. Which I'm not dissing, it's just I found that their older stuff was a lot better, and I discovered that I like power metal all of a sudden. With Steve Williams being a former member of Dragon Force, I'd say it was only a matter of time before I stumbled upon Power Quest. And so, this is where the quest began, to say it in a cheesy way, but not as you might have expected. The first Power Quest track that I listened to was a song entitled The Message from the 2004 album, Magic Never Dies, and admittedly, I honestly found it hilarious. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Here I was listening to a new genre of metal, being whisked away to lands of fantasy and adventure, listening to imaginative lyrics and themes which fitted perfectly with the melodic riffs and greatly complemented the vocal ranges of these amazing power metal artists. And then I'm listening to the ballad of a man who's been dumped via a voice message on his home phone. What?
And I wake up all alone. A message on
thought that these guys had to be foreign and singing in English as a second language or something. I mean, you hear Eastern Europeans and Indians sing about this thing, these sort of things all the time. The things that I was hearing about love and destiny and other ranges of cheese all the time. But it's because those particular people aren't afraid to use such words in song, because they use those type of words in their own tongue, and they sound a lot better than what they do in English when they try to get translated.
Like the wild elephant, I am trumpeting my love for you.
Like a hidden flower, my sweet fragrance comes into view.
My heart burns for you, like the sun at noon.
My desert welcomes you like the rain monsoon.
You are my heart.
But no, really, Power Quest were indeed British, and it absolutely astounded me at first for listening to that one track, because it was just... Thankfully I listened to more of the stuff following this. I mean, after all, at the time I had to know if this was a one-off or if there was more exactly like this. Hilarity. At the time I had a very strange sense of humour, and I maintain to this day that I still do at times, but I just found it really funny that a guy was singing after a guy was singing about something like this in a power metal style. I was used to hearing about Sonic Firestorms and Rage of Dragons and all that stuff, but this was a very real story of a guy getting dumped whilst he was on the road. Whilst he was on the road working, for that matter, and trying to make a living for his music. If any other form of music were to take these themes on, then they probably would have got away with it, but because it was power metal, it just sounded ridiculous. Especially when it was in the middle of an album called Magic Never Dies. But to be honest, I'm glad that they did do songs like this, because they actually did eventually contribute towards my admiration for Power Quest eventually. They could sing about fantasy, magic, love, lore, and what was expected of them as a power metal outfit, but they were also never afraid to venture into real life everyday issues, and they would always pull it off really well with their unique instrumental style and their powerful presence, especially in the vocal department. At least to me they did anyway. The tracks always had qualities that made them very memorable and full of energy to me, and they lasted and stayed with me long after I finished listening to them. As I mentioned previously though, my all-time favourite Power Quest album happens to be the last they ever produced. When Blood Alliance was released in 2010, it absolutely blew my fucking mind. Throughout all the shifts and changes that were made to the lineup throughout their entire career, and believe me, there were a lot. They never had any luck that way, I feel. They always changed band members every album. It might have been down to the lack of success that they had, and maybe guitarists saying that they wanted to venture off onto other projects to see if they've become more successful, because it's making a living in the end, you know. But I personally believe they absolutely nailed it with the lineup for Blood Alliance. It was the best lineup the band ever had. Chitty was absolutely great on vocals. They introduced guitarists, was it Gav Owen? He's absolutely incredible. It just makes me so sad that this is the album they decided to make before they called it quits. I mean, the album basically tells the story behind this outcome as well too, by focusing on their opinion of themselves with tracks like Rising Anew.
I don't care what they say, they just wanna shoot us down in flames. Rising anew, in from the cold, ready to strike, never grows. No one can ever hold us down.
And even the economic downturn that affected them, the song Crunching the Numbers, which Steve did mention that the economic downturn did contribute to the downfall of PowerQuest.
Don't believe the things you read or see upon the TV screen. Form your own conclusions, practice what you preach. Time has come to realize the economy is jeopardized. Where does that leave us now?
It's an against the odds, holding the last stance sort of album. It's admittedly a great album to go out on, but that's the part that annoys me the most, because I would have loved more of the same of this. But I suppose the effort that they gave for this was only truly possible when their back was against the wall and they had to give everything that they had possible. Absolutely, to put everything in black and white in front of you and passionately screaming it out and letting it out. The instrumentals are absolutely incredible, and I can only hope that a new power metal band will eventually rise from the ashes of PowerQuest and start a new journey of their own. Because seriously, that, what's his name? Andy Migley, that's it, and Gav Owen, they're absolutely incredible guitarists. I mean, they will not be out of work for long. They're amazing live and in the studio. I mean, someone should sign them up immediately. They're great guys to talk to. Met them once I was at a gig in Glasgow, a PowerQuest gig in Glasgow, and they're absolutely incredible people and very good talent. I'm beginning to sound a little like a fanboy here, but I'm not going to admit that I'm not. I am a fan of PowerQuest, and this is why I'm making this video. So I wish I had enough resources and time set aside to do a full career retrospective on PowerQuest actually, because I hope that my personal experience of listening to this great power metal band has actually inspired you to go out and check them out. It doesn't matter if you find some of their stuff funny or cheesy. It's entertaining. It's absolutely surrounded by some of the best instrumentals you'll hear in power metal. And so why not just have fun with it? Music shouldn't be taken too seriously when you're the one listening to it. I mean, leave that to the guys that are making a living out of it. If you want to laugh at a power metal album but enjoy the instrumentals and you've got the same sort of sense of humour as I do, then go on, just have a listen to it. It's really good stuff. I mean, who knows, like, maybe if this video gains enough views, the quest may indeed continue one day. A guy can dream. But I'm going to sign off. See you next time for another band retrospective.
Hold on to